We begin the Gemara today on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph at the beginning of the Amud, where it says Ki Amrisa Kamei de Shmuel, 4 lines in. So we had before in the Gemara this statement from Rav Yehuda. He said that today, if you Mekadesh or Isha, or a guy that is, comes to be Mekadesh or Isha, so usually you would think that that's nothing, it's Tama Goy, Kedushin doesn't take effect whatsoever. So he says no, in the place where you had the Aseres HaShvatim, so because they got assimilated with Goyim there, so therefore it's possible that the person that's being Mekadesh, your wife, really is from the Aseres HaShvatim. So therefore you have to be Chayshish for the Kedushin. So the Gemara now continues in this. Ki Amrisa Kamei de Shmuel. When this statement of Rav Yehuda that was said before in the name of Rav Asi was said in front of Shmuel, Amalei, so he said as follows, that over here really, Bincha haba min Yisraelis, when you have a son that comes from the mother that's a Yisraelis, even if the father is a Goy, Kari Bincha, that's your child, meaning the child is a Yid. But ve'ein Bincha haba min Yivedes Kechavim, Kari Bincha. But if you have a child that comes from a mother that's a Goy, and the father is a Yid, that's not your child. Ela B'na, it's her child, and she's a guy, and therefore the child is a guy. Right? So therefore, what's Shmuel saying over here? That there's no reason to be chayshish for the kiddushin over here. Just a second. So he was saying regarding this case over here that you have to be concerned that maybe you have over here b'zman hazeh. Maybe the father, right? What did we say before? That maybe the father comes from the Aseres HaShvatim, and the mother is going to be. The father comes from the Aseres HaShvatim, and the mother is a guy that is. So then, what's the problem? The child is going to be an absolute guy. So why? There's no reason to be concerned with the kedushin at all. The Gemara before said that in these places, because the father comes from the Aseres HaShvatim, so therefore you have to be concerned with the Kiddushin. Not if the mother's a guy. If the mother's a guy, so then there's no Kiddushin whatsoever. The children are not Yidden B'chlal. This Gemara here is based on a pasuk in Parshas Vaschanan, where it says, Ki Yasir es bincha me'acharai. Rashi over here brings the pasuk. So over there in the pasuk, when it says Ki Yasir es bincha, what that means is that if the father is a guy and the mother is a Yid, then the pasuk is saying that you should be concerned that the father is going to schlep your son, meaning your son, which is a Yid, away from you. How do we know that the pasuk is talking about that the father is the one that's a guy? Because it says Yasir. Yasir is Lashon Zachar, meaning that the father is the one that is the guy and he's schlepping your son away. Rashi says it does not say Kisasir. Kisasir would mean that the mother is the one that's schlepping away the son. The mother is the guy. If the mother is the guy, then it's not bincha, it's not your son. Okay, so therefore Shmuel says, in this case over here, if the father is from the Aseres HaShvatim and the mother is a guy, so then the children are not Yidden B'chlal. So there's no Kiddushin, it's not part of the Yiddish nation B'chlal. You don't have to be concerned about this. Frek the Gemara, that's in the case where the father is from the Aseres HaShvatim and the mother is a guy. But va'ike banais, aren't there also, when the Aseres HaShvatim went into Galus, it wasn't only the men that went into Galus. There are also the daughters and the women from the Aseres HaShvatim that went into Galus. So the point that Rav Yehuda said before, that you have to be concerned that maybe in this marriage there's going to be a goy and a yid that are getting married, maybe the mother is the one that's coming from the Aseres HaShvatim. That's what we should be concerned about. V'amar Avina, and Gemara now brings the source of this Indian, Shmami no, that we learn out from the pasuk, and that's the pasuk that I just mentioned, that it says Ki Yasir es bincha ben bitcha haba min ha'ovid kechavim kari bincha. If there's a son of your daughter that got married to a guy, that's your son, because the mother is a Yid. Gemiri, this is already the answer. But if it's the other way around, if you have a grandson that comes from a mother that's a guy, and it's your son which is a Yid, so then the grandson is not a Yid B'chlal. Okay, so the Gemara's question is, B'nigeh to the Aseres HaShvatim, even if what Shmuel said is true, that we're not concerned in a case when the father is a Yid and the mother is a guy, but maybe we should be concerned that the mother came from the Aseres HaShvatim. So the Gemara says, no, we're not concerned that the mother comes from Asheres HaShvatim. Why not? Gemiri, because we have a tradition, the benasa da'ahu dare, it's teruye, it's daru. That the daughters of Asheres HaShvatim, of that generation, it's teruye, it's daru, means their womb was torn open and they were not able to give birth b'chlal. How did this happen? Why did this happen? So the Mefarshim say a few different reasons. Either because they traveled so far, so therefore they became barren women, or because they did it intentionally. They starved themselves, they did it intentionally because they knew they're going into a place where they're going to be amongst Goyim, and they did not want to have children that together with Goyim. So therefore they did this to themselves. So therefore we know that there was no children that were born from the Yiddish mothers. So the concern is only from the Asheres HaShvatim, from the Goyish mothers, and the Yiddish fathers from the Asheres HaShvatim. And therefore, on that, the Shmuel is saying, the children are not Yidden B'chlal. Ikeda others say differently here. Kemrisa kamei the Shmuel, when they told Shmuel about what Rav Yehuda said, that you have to be concerned about the Kiddushin in this area of the Asheres HaShvatim, Amalei, he said, no, you don't have to be concerned. Why not? Loizazu misham acha asum oivdei kechavim gemurim. They did not budge from there until they considered them to be these Asheres HaShvatim that fully assimilated amongst the Goyim. They considered them to be oivdei kechavim gemurim. Because they left Eretz Yisrael and because the Averis that they did and they are totally assimilated, they consider them to be Avdi Kechavim Gemurim. Shenema, the Pasuk says, Ba'Hashem Bagadu, they were baigid, they were traitors against Hashem, Ki Bonim Zadim Yoladu. And the children that they give birth to are Bonim Zadim. They're not considered to be Yidden anymore. So therefore, what he's saying is that there's nothing to be concerned about this, that maybe in those areas you have mixed in from Asheres HaShvatim. These Asheres HaShvatim are completely assimilated amongst the Goyim and they're not considered to be Yidden anymore. Very interesting. So the Gemara, Yosef, Rav Yosef, Achayre de Rav Kahana. Rav Yosef was sitting in behind Rav Kahana. Yosef, Rav Kahana, Kamei de Rav Yehuda. And Rav Kahana was sitting in front of Rav Yehuda, Yosef Ka'amar, and Rav Yehuda was saying as follows. Asidin Yisrael the Avdi Yom Tov. In the future, Yidden are going to make a yontif, a celebration, Ki Charvi Tarmud, when the city of Tarmud is going to be destroyed. Why? Because Tarmud, as we said before, at least according to one opinion, was a place where you had a bunch of mamzerim there, a lot of psulim there, and it was causing trouble for Yidden. In that place, to get married to them only causes problems. So the fact that this is a place that got destroyed is going to be a Yom Tov, a celebration. Fragt the Gemara, but we know that v'hacharev, it was already destroyed. So answers the Gemara, no, hahit tamud havoy. The city that was already destroyed was Tamud. Tarmud was not yet destroyed. Ravashi gives a different answer. Hainu Tarmud, Hainu Tamud. These two places, Tarmud and Tamud, are the same place. But what happened was, Achpulihu de Michpal. They doubled up and rebuilt it again. Meaning, Charev Mahai Gise, when it was destroyed on one side, Oisev Mahai Gise, on the other side, they settled it. Vicharev Mahai Gise, when it got destroyed on the other side of the city, Oisev Mahai Gise, they settled it on the other side. So it got destroyed, but they rebuilt it. It was never fully destroyed, the whole city at once. It was always rebuilt, and therefore it was not fully. It's going to be fully destroyed in the future, and then it's going to be a celebration. So the Gemara, Yosef Rav Amnuna kamei the Ula. Rav Amnuna was sitting in front of Ula, v'kohavi b'shmaita, and he was asking him questions in a certain sugya. Omar, so Ula said about Rav Amnuna, mo gavre or mo gavra. Who's this great person? Or the Bach here is actually Goyrisema Guvrei. And what's his strength? We see that he has such tremendous strength. He's a very powerful person in his learning. Ilav Harpanya Mose. If not for the fact that he comes from this city that's called Harpanya, as we'll see in a moment here in the Gemara, this Harpanya was a place of all kinds of psulim, mamzeirim, people that were not of a good yichus at all. So he says, if not for the fact that he comes from this city, Harpanya, how great is this person and how strong is he? Ichsef, when Ra'ula made this comment about Rav Amnuna, he got very embarrassed that he's saying that he comes from such a place. So apparently Ula tried to appease him or tried to, So he said to him, Amalei kesef galgalta lehechi yavis. When you pay your taxes, your head tax, so where do you pay your tax to? Amalei, so Rav Amnuna answered, Lefum Nara, in the city of Pum Nara. So he told him, Amalei, so in Pum Nara, so you're from Pum Nara, you're not from Harpanya. So he basically was trying to say to him, I'm sorry for accusing you that you come from Arpanya. Really, you're not from Arpanya, you're from Pumnara. Now the Gemara says, what is this place Arpanya? Arpanya. What is this place Arpanya? Amar Abzeire. It's made up of a few words. Har shehakoil poinim bay. It's a mountain that everybody goes there. What's everybody? So Rashi says all these different kinds of psulim that couldn't find a shidduch anywhere else. They didn't have good yichus. That's where all these people went, and they got married to one another. So it's a place of all kinds of psulim that were there. The Masnita Tana in Braisa we learned about this place Arpanya. Kol she'ein makir mishpachta v'shifta, a person that doesn't know who his family is, who his shevet is, he doesn't have good yichus at all. Niftna l'sham, they would go there. Rava says about this place, v'hiya mukim mishail. It's a place that's lower down even than Sha'il, which is a term for Gehenim. Shenema miyat Sha'il efteim, from Gehenim, the Eibusha says, I can liberate you. Mimavis agolim, from death I will redeem you. But v'ilu psuldid who? Those people from this place Harpanya that are apostle, leslu takanta. They have no takana there. They come from these from a place that's apostle. So for this psul, there's nothing that can be fixed with this. Now the Gemara explains, Psuli da Arpanya, these people of Arpanya that were apostle, Mishum Psuli de Mishan. It's related to another city that was near it, which is the Psulim of Mishain. The Psulim, the people that were apostle of Mishain, went to Arpanya. Psuli de Mishain, the people that lived in Mishain that were apostle, where did they come from? Mishum Psuli de Tarmud. It all began with this place of Tarmud that we were speaking about, where all the Psulim were there. Psule de Tarmud. Now, who were the first ones that caused all of these psulim in the city of Tarmud? So, as we said before, according to one opinion, Mishum Avdei Shleime. It all began with these slaves of Shleima Melech that went and got married to Bnei Yisrael, and they began all these psulim. So, from Tarmud they went to Mishain, and from Mishain to Arpanya. V'hainu damri yinshi. People say about this, Kava Rabbe v'Kava Zutta. You have a measuring utensil that's large or small, but if they're both not precise and they're not, it can't be used. So whether it's big, whether it's small, either way it's not good. So similar over here, you have these different cities, some larger, some smaller, some to a greater degree, some to a lesser degree, but they're all the same thing. Megande v'azal l'sha'il. So you roll down, you go from one place and you roll lower to a place that's even worse. L'sha'il into Sha'il, and then Misha'il l'Tarmud. From Sha'il you go to Tarmud, which is a place of Psulim, and Tarmud l'Mishan, which is a place that's even worse than Tarmud, even more Psulim, or Mishan l'Harpanya. And then from Mishan to the place Harpanya, which is this place that all the Psulim would go there, as I mentioned before. Hadran Allah Chomesh Esrei Noshim. Just to finish off with a word from the Rebbe that you mentioned yesterday, B'negeh to this Tarmud. So the Rebbe says that this is also what we find in the Gemara by the Sugi of Chanukah. Adekal Yerigle the Tarmudoi. The Rigle the Tarmudoi simply means Umma Malakte Eitzim. Rashi there says it's people that used to collect wood at night, and they were out latest at night. But it says in a Sefer Kehelis Yaakov, which is a Kabbalah Sefer, that the word Tarmudoi means those that rebel against Hashem. And the Nei Chanukah illuminates and reaches even people that rebel against Hashem. So the question is, what's the remes? What's epis? So the Rebbe says, Al Pi Nigle, here we see in the Gemara in Yevamos that these Tarmudoi, they were Avdei Shleime that got married to Bnei Yisrael. If these were Avdei Shleime that got married to Bnei Yisrael, so what does that mean? They probably rebelled against Shleime Melech. They were supposed to be the servants by Shleime Melech. Instead, they went and had relationships with these Bnei Yisrael. So they were rebellers against Hashem. That's the source of this concept that it says in the Sugi of Chanukah that Tarmudoi is the ones that rebel against Hashem.
The children were Jewish because the mother was Jewish. No?
The what again?
The mothers were Jewish.
The mothers were Jewish, correct.
So that makes them
yeah,
Jewish, no?
but they're Jewish, but mamzerim. According to the opinion that we had before in the Gemara, the Jewish, but mamzerim. Yeah. Okay, we begin a new Peirik. This goes back to one of the things that are discussed in the first Mishnah of the Masechta, and we learned about it a few different halachas already before, which is Eishes Ach Shlehaya Bailamai. The mitzvah of Yibum is that the brother is miyabim, the wife of his brother that passed away without children, but that's only if this brother was alive when the brother that passed away was alive. But if he was not alive when his brother was alive, and he was born later, so then that's Eishes Ach Shlehaya Bailamai. He was not alive when this wife was married to his brother. Then there's no mitzvah of Yibum. And what happens if there's no mitzvah of Yibum? It's a chi of kares for you to get married to this woman. And then what did the Mishnah say? not only for this woman is there no mitzvah of Yibum, but even for the tzara, for the other wife, there's also no mitzvah of Yibum. So the Mishnah here will explain how that is, because usually, if this brother was born later, so he's a Eishes Ach Shlei Haya Bailamai, so that's regarding all of the wives of the brother before. He wasn't alive when the first brother was married to any of the wives. So what does this mean? A tzara of a Eishes Ach Shlei Haya Bailamai, meaning that this wife, he wasn't alive when he was married to her. But for the tzara, he was alive. How was he alive for the tzara? If he wasn't alive for any of the wives. So this Mishnah will explain that. Sagt the Mishnah, Keitzad Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai. What is the case of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai that we mentioned in the first Mishnah, that not only is there no Yibum for this wife, but there's no Yibum for the tzara as well. So the case starts like this. Shnei Achim, you have two brothers. You have Reuven and Shimon. Right, so Reuven was married to a wife. And Umeis, he passes away without children. Umeis Echad Mem, one of the brothers, Reuven, passes away without children. There's a third brother born. Levi is born. So this Levi that was born was not alive when Reuven was married to his wife. And now, after Levi is born, Shimon does Yibum to one of Reuven's wives. He was alive when Reuven was alive, so he does Yibum to one wife of Reuven. Umeis, and now Shimon passes away, and now this Shimon that passed away, he was Miyabim, one of Reuven's wife, and besides that, Shimon was married to another wife as well. So Shimon had two wives. So now Harishaina, so the first wife, when it says here Harishaina, this refers to the wife that was already married before to Reuven. And now Shimon did Yibum for this wife. So now when it comes to Levi, could Levi do Yibum to this wife that was previously married to Reuven? No. Because since Levi was born after Reuven passed away, so for him, this woman will always remain Issachadis of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai. So therefore there's no mitzvah of Yibum for that. And Vashniya Mishum Tzarasa. And now the second wife here, which is the second wife of Shimon, so won't be any Yibum for her as well, even though Levi was alive when Shimon was married to her. She was never Reuven's wife, but nevertheless, she's the tzara of this first wife that was married to Reuven. And Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai, so therefore the tzara as well, there's no Yibum for. This is the case of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai that patters the tzara as well from Yibum. Now the Mishnah says, Asa ba maimer, if when Shimon went and got married to Reuven's wife, he didn't fully do Yibum. Yibum is bia when he fully had relations with her, the mitzvah of Yibum, but instead he did maimer. What's maimer? So we had this before in the Gemara. Maimer is a kedushin midrabanan, that he gives her kesef shtar, or he does the kedushin only midrabanan. So then Umeis shniya, and then Shimon passes away. So now Chaylet says v'loy misyabemes. So Shimon, Levi Levi, the third brother, does chalitza and not Yibum. Why only chalitza and not Yibum? Because this is not fully a case of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai. Because Shimon is not really fully married to this Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai. So the tzara is not a tzara of Eishes Achiv Shlei Haya Bailamai. So when it comes to the tzara, you do chalitza and not Yibum. You can't do Yibum because to some degree there is a marriage here. At least midrabanan, maimer is a marriage. But on the other hand, you can't ignore this altogether. There has to be you can't do Yibum. You can't do Yibum because it's at least a marriage midrabanan. But you have to do at least chalitza because to some degree there is a marriage over here. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara, Omer Rav Nachman, Man de Tani Rishayna loy mishtabish. So in the Mishnah over here, it said Umeis, and then Shimon passed away. Harishayna yaitze mishum eishes achav shlei haya bailamai. So it said in the Mishnah that was our gersa, right? Harishayna, the first wife. What does it mean, the first wife? So the Gemara says that when you say Rishayna loy mishtabish, that's not a mistake. You can read in the Mishnah Rishayna. Man de Tani Shniya, the one that says Shniya also loy mishtabish, is also not making a mistake. You can be guided in the Mishnah the word Shniya. Why? So the Gemara explains. Man de Tani Rishayna, the one that's guided in the Mishnah the word Rishayna, loy mishtabish, is not making a mistake. My Rishayna, what does the term Rishayna mean in the Mishnah? Rishayna lenefila. that this is the wife that was once Reuven's wife. And she already fell once for Yibum to Shimon. And now when Shimon passes away, she's falling a second time for Yibum to Levi. So Rishonim means she already fell for Yibum once before. That's according to our gears in the Mishnah. And the man that Tani Shnia loy mishtabish, the one that says the term Shnia in the Mishnah is not making a mistake. Why not? My Shnia, Shnia lenisuin. Shnia means that over here, in her marriage to Shimon, she got married second. Shimon was first married to his wife, and now his brother Reuven passes away, and he has to do Yibum, so he marries her second. Fragt the Gemara, how could you say that? How do you know that she was second for marriage? Mila yaskinan, could the case not be the Yibum v'achakach kanas? That maybe first Shimon married Reuven's wife for Yibum, and then only afterwards he married a second wife? The case of here is that Shimon's married to two wives. But how do you know that the first wife was what Shimon was married to first, and he did Yibum only later? Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was Miyabim, Reuven's wife first, and only afterwards he married a second wife. So as Gemara says, you're right. Elamai shnia, shnia binisuin. Shnia means that this is the wife that was already married twice. She was married first to Reuven, and now she's getting married a second time to Shimon. So again, the point here is that this wife, that Shimon was miyabim, you could either refer to her as Rishaina in the sense that she's the one that fell for Yibum once before, the first time before, and now this is the second time. So we're referring to her as Rishaina, as in the fact that she already had an afila Rishaina, she already was once before for Yibum, or Shnia bin Yisum means that she's getting married now for the second time. She got married once to Reuven, and now she's getting married the second time to Shimon with the Yibum. Okay, that's been negated to the Girsa in the Mishnah. But now the Gemara brings Bechlal. What is the source for this entire thing that Eishes Achiv Shlehoya Bailamai there's no Yibum? Talk to Gemara Eishes Achiv Shlehoya Bailamai Heichiksive. Where does it say in the Torah that if there's a brother and he was not alive when the brother that passed away was married to his wife, so there's no mitzvah of Yibum at all? Amarav Yuda Amarav Omakra, the pasuk says Ki Yeshvu Achim Yachtov. There were two brothers. This is how the parsha of the whole mitzvah of Yibum begins. Two brothers were living in the world together. What does that mean? Shahaisalam yeshiva achas ba'ilam. They live together in the world. It says Yeshua. They're living achim yachtov. Prat leishes achash le'oy ba'ilamai. And therefore, this excludes that if there's a brother that was not alive at the same time when his brother that was alive passed away, so then there's no mitzvah of Yibum. Another thing we learn out from the word yachtov. Yachtov means miyuchadim benachla. That the mitzvah of Yibum is only yachtov if they are unique in the sense that they're brothers for inheritance. What does this mean? What kind of brothers are they? So the Gemara explains, Prat la'achav min ha'im. If they are brothers, that are only brothers that they share the same mother, there's no nachla when it comes to brothers that are brothers from a mother. If one brother passes away and there's no other Yarshim, there's no Yerusha for a brother that's only a brother sharing the same mother. If there's a brother that shares the same father, so then you could be Yerush a brother. If there's no other Yerushim, there is Yerusha. So that's why we know that the whole mitzvah of Yibum is only from a brother that shares the same father. Rabba Amar Achin, Rabba brings a different source. Achim and Av. How do we know that it has to be brothers from the fathers sharing the same father? Yalef, Achva, Achva Mibnei Yaakov. We learn out from the term Achim that it says here and the term Achim that it says by the children of Yaakov. Mala Alon Min Av, just like there, the sons of Yaakov have the same father but not the same mother. V'loi Min Ha'im, Afkan Min Av, over here as well by the mitzvah of Yibum, it's brothers that share the same father, V'loi Min Ha'im, even if they don't share the same mother. Frag the Gemara, V'leiluf Achva Achva Me'arayis. Why are you learning out the term Achim that it says here, from the term Achim that it says by Yaakov? Rashi brings the pasuk. By Yaakov it says, Shneim Asar Achim B'nei Avinu. So why are you learning out from there? Maybe you learn it out from the word Achim that it says by Arayis. What does it say by Arayis? So over there, the pasuk by Arayis says, Rashi brings the pasuk, Ervas Eishes Achicha. So learn out Achim that it says here, from Achicha that it says there, that even, what's by Arayis? Even a brother that has the same mother, there's also Issa of Erva. So the Gemara answers, no, Donin Achim Me Achim, the Gzeir Shava is from the two words Achim Achim that are exactly the same word, Vein Donim Achim Me Achicha. And we do not learn the Gzeir Shava from the word Achim that it says here, Ki Yeshvu Achim, from the word Ervas Eishes Achicha, that's not the same word. the Gemara, is that true? If it's not exactly the same word, you don't make the Gzeir Shaveh. My nafka. What's the difference if it's the same word or not? Even if it's not exactly the same word, you could still make a Gzeir Shaveh, because Hatana, the Bei Rabbi Shmuel taught V'shava kayin uba kayin. We learn a Gzeir Shaveh by the halachas of the tzaras in a house. Different times when the kayin comes back and he sees that the nega returned. So we learn from the word V'shav to the word uba, zuhi shiva, zuhi bia, that we apply the same halachas by the shiva when he returns again to the bia when he comes the first time. Or maybe the second time. This is the pasuk that speaks about 1, 2, and 3 times. But the point is, we see here a Gzeir Shaveh from the word Shiva and Bia, since they mean the same thing. He's coming back, or coming. So we can make a Gzeir Shaveh even if it's not the same word. So for sure we can make a Gzeir Shaveh from Achim to Achecha. Answers the Gemara, Hanim mili heichedeleke midi didamile. If the Gzeir Shaveh is with these 2 words, because there is no other word that's exactly the same, so there you find the Gzeir Shaveh of 2 words that mean the same thing, even if it's not the same word. Aval heichedeleke midi didamile. But over here, if you have 2 words, Achim, that are exactly the same, midi didamile yalfinon. I learn out the 2 words Achim that are exactly the same. I'm not going to learn out from Achecha that is not. Fragt the Gemara, but there is another time in the Torah where it says Achim, exactly the same. V'leilev achva achva miloit. Why not learn out from what it says by light? T'chsev ki anoshim achim anachnu. We are men that are brothers. And so over there when it says anoshim achim anachnu regarding light, so who was light? Light was, Rashi says, achi aviv. Light to Avram Avinu was a cousin. He wasn't a brother b'chlal. He was a cousin. So what the Gemara is asking is, maybe we should learn out from here that the mitzvah of Yibum applies not only to a brother, but the mitzvah of Yibum applies also to a cousin. Eishes, Rashi says, v'tisyabim eishes achiyaviv. Maybe there should be a mitzvah of Yibum for the wife of your uncle. That an uncle that passed away without any children, maybe you should do Yibum from there as well. We can learn out from light that there's a mitzvah of Yibum there. So the Gemara answer is no. Mistaver mibnei Yaakov havelei lemelech. It makes more sense to learn out the Gzeir Shaveh of Achim from the word Achim that it says by Yaakov. Vishom de mefani, because that's an extra word there. How do we see it's an extra word? Midahavelei lemichtav shnei masar avadecha b'nei avinu. These are the children, the shvatim that are speaking to Yosef, and they're telling Yosef that we are 12 brothers that are the children of our father. So it says b'nei avinu, that we're all the children of one father. So it's understood that they're brothers. Uksiv Achim. It says the extra word here of Achim, that they said that they're brothers. It doesn't have to say that word. Shma mina lafnuya. So this is an extra word to teach me that there's a Gzeir Shaveh. But the word Achim, that it says by light, is not an extra word. Okay, so what does it come out from here? The Gemara brought 2 drashes to say that the mitzvah of Yibum is for a brother and for the brother where you share the same father. One drasha was from what it says Yachtov. Yachtov means miyuchadim benachla, that it's only a brother that you can inherit. And another drasha was that you learn it out from the Achim that it says by Yaakov. And the Gemara now says ve'itzterech. You need both of these drashas. Ve'itzterech lemichtav Achim, ve'itzterech lemichtav Yachtov. You have to have the drasha of Achim, and you need the drasha of Yachtov as well. Why? Because Rachmana Achim. If I would only have the word Achim and I would have the Gzeir Shaveh to learn out from another place Achim, so then havamina leilef achva achva miloit. Then I would still think you should learn it out from what it says by light. The Gemara just explained you can't learn out from light because light is not an extra word over there when it says Achim. So the Gemara says no, actually, even if it's not extra, but it's still, I would still be able to learn out from there. Why? V'chiteme loy mifni. If you'll say that it's not an extra word, light, that's not true. Afnuye mafni. It's still considered to be extra. Why? Medahavele lemichtav reim. It should have said the word reim, that they're not exactly brothers. Avram and Lot were not exactly brothers. So it should have said reim, that were related, were friends. Oksiv achim. It says brothers. Why does it use this term of brothers? Shma mina lafnuy. It's unusual that it uses the term brothers, even though they weren't exactly brothers. So doesn't that mean that it should be used for a Gzeir Shaveh? To teach me over here that the achim by the mitzvah of Yibum is also even a cousin or even an uncle. That's why the Torah has to say the word Yachtov, Ham Yuchadim Benachla, to teach me that Yibum is only for a brother, you share the same father, and there's an inheritance. So that's why you have to have the limit from Yachtov. On the other hand, because of Rachmana Yachtov, if the Torah would only say the term of Yachtov, Havamine de meyachti ba'abo be'imo. Maybe I would say Yachtov means that it's only a brother that's so unique, he's so much your brother that you share the same father and mother. Maybe that's what Yachtov means. Now, it's not enough that it's the same, that there's an inheritance, but it has to be both the father and the mother. So therefore, tzriche. So therefore, we have to have the other drasha that we learn out from the children of Yaakov, where it says Achim, that they share only the same father and not the same mother. Why would I think to say that even that only if you share the same father and the mother, only then is there the mitzvah of Yibum? Why would I make such a mistake? Yibum benachla tal rachmana. By Yibum, you see that the Torah says that there has to be a Yibum, that there could be a Nachla. Right? The Torah is tailored in the inyan of Nachla. When it says, Ki yesh v'achim yachtov, the word yachtov means miyuchadim benachla. That's what we said before. That's what the term yachtov means, that they're unique regarding Nachla. So why would I think that this means that you have to have also the same father and the same mother? The Nachla mina'av, v'leimenein. The Nachla, in order to inherit your brother, that's only if you share the same father. Whether you have the same mother or not, that's irrelevant, b'chlal. So why would I make this mistake to think that dafka if you share the same father and the same mother? So Rashi over here brings the pasuk that it says over there, by Yibum, Yokim al Shem Achav Ames. And the Gemara later, on Daf Chavdala, the Gemara learns out that that means dafka, a brother, that you have the same Nachla. So even though from this word yachtov that it says here, maybe you would think it means the father and the mother. You have to have mamish, a brother that's the father and the mother. But you see, the Gemara later learns out beferish that it's connected to nachla, only a brother that you can inherit. So why would you think that it's also the mother? So the Gemara says, no, still I still do need a pasuk over here to learn out from the brothers and the sons of Yaakov, the Shvatim. Sol kedaita chamine, because I would still think to say, Hoyel v'chidishu, the komishteri erve gabei, since this whole mitzvah of Yibum is a very big chiddush, that a woman that's usually a erve, without the mitzvah of Yibum, what is this woman? She's a Eishes Achiv, there's a chiyuv of Kares. And here the Torah is saying that it's mutter and there's a mitzvah of Yibum for her. So I would think, I would limit this chiddush and say, Ademiyachti ba'aba u'be'imah, that maybe it's only until they have the same father and the same mother. So therefore, tzriche, I have to have the limud of achim, that I learn out from Yaakov to tell me that it's even if they share the same father, you already have this heter. You don't need to have the same father and mother that this heter should apply. Okay, now the Gemara starts a new inyan. This is the beginning of a sugya which we will have here, and this comes up also later in the Masechta. This is the sugya of zika. Yesh zika or ein zika, as we'll see. Let's see what the Gemara says. This is in the beginning. It's going to seem like that it's not connected to what we're learning about here, but the Gemara is going to bring a raya from our Mishnah that we learned in the beginning of this Perek, so that's why it brings it up here. Amar Ravuna Marav. Ravuna said in the name of Rav, Shemeres Yavam, Shemeisa. So if you have a woman that's a Shemeres Yavam, meaning that her husband passed away and she's waiting. She's waiting for Yibum, for the brother to do Yibum, but he didn't do Yibum yet. So in this time period, when she's a Shemeres Yavam, so she has a certain connection to her Yavam that has to do either Yibum or Chalitza for her. Right? So she has a certain Zika, a certain connection. But she passed away. He never ended up doing Yibum for her. Mutter be'ima. So now, the brother, he never ended up doing Yibum for her. She passed away. He's allowed to get married to her mother. What's the point here? What's the chiddush here? A person is not allowed to get married to his wife's mother, even after his wife passes away. The mother of the wife is always an erve, he's not allowed to get married to. So you might think this Shemeres Yavam, this woman that was not yet your wife, but she was already destined to be a wife. She was already connected to you. Maybe there's a zika. That connection alone should be enough of a connection similar to a wife that even after she passes away, you can't marry your mother. So that's why Rav Huna is saying, no, she passed away. That zika, it's not a connection. Ein zika, this is called. There's no connection there. And therefore now you can go ahead and marry your mother. Alma, so we see from this kasava that Rav Huna holds ein zika, that this zika is not a connection that's similar to a wife, and therefore if she passes away, you could marry the mother. So now the emes is that this Inyan that Rav Huna is saying here, as we'll see later on Daf Mem Daled, this is a machlokes, a beferish machlokes in a Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira and the Chachamim. There's other Tanaim that argue about this. It's a machlokes Tanaim. Fragt the Gemara. So why is Rav Huna saying this halacha regarding this case of a shemeres yavam that passed away, that you're allowed to marry the mother? Why doesn't he say straight that we paskin like the Tana that says ein zika? Since Tanaim already argued about this, he should just say it straight. Answers the Gemara, if you would say that the halacha is like the Tana that says that there's no zika and therefore you can marry the mother, so havamina, I would think to say hanemili betrei. Maybe this is only if there were two brothers. There wasn't only one brother to do yibum. There were two brothers that were available to do yibum. So in such a case, since there were two brothers, so therefore it's not, in such a case, there's no connection to one brother because it's not clear which brother is going to be the one to actually do the yibum. Aval b'chad, if there's only one brother that's going to be doing the yibum, so this woman that was destined for yibum for you, maybe yesh zika. Maybe she is considered to be connected to you, similar to a wife, and you can't marry your mother when she passes away. So therefore, he was saying that even if there's only one brother and the Yevama passed away, there's no zika. You can marry your mother. Fragt the Gemara, but still, so let him say clearly that we paskin like that opinion that says that there's no zika, that there's no connection to this Yevama if she passes away. Now, even if there's only one brother, you just have to clarify fila b'chad. Why didn't he want to say this? Why does he have to say the case beferish? Why can't he just say that the halacha is ein zika in no circumstances, even if there was only one brother? Answers the Gemara, because if you would have said this, havamina, then I would have said afilu mechayim, that maybe this is even when the Yevama is still alive. When his Yevama is still alive, he can go ahead and marry her mother, and once he marries her mother, now he can't do Yibum anymore. It's not his wife yet. Why can't I marry him? Maybe you would think, if I already married her, if I already did Yibum, so for sure I can't marry her mother. But if she's just a Yevama and I wasn't miyabim her yet, so she was never my wife, so I can go and marry her mother. And once I marry her mother, so then that will take away my ability to fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum. That's what I would think, even when she's still alive. Kamash Malon, that's the reason why Rav Huna is spelling out the case. So Rav Huna is coming to tell me, La'achar misa'in. After the Yevama passed away, so then he says that because she was destined to be his Yevama before, but now she's not alive anymore. Now I say, Ein Zike could go and marry your mother. But Mechayim loy, if she's still alive, you can't do this. Why not? Mishum da asal levatl mitzvahs Yevamin. Because you're not allowed to be mevatl the mitzvah of Yibum. By going and marrying her mother, now this Yevama becomes an erva for him. He can't marry her. So that's why he said dafka the case when she passed away. So the Gemara Tanan, we learned later in the Mishnah, it says, Yevim Toshemesa, your Yevama that passes away, Mutter B'chaisa, you're allowed to get married to her sister. Now this halacha that you're allowed to get married to a sister of Yevama, this is the same with a wife. If a person's wife passes away, you're allowed to marry a sister of a wife. So the Gemara says, B'chaisa in. It seems that Mishnah is saying that if a Yevama passes away, you're only allowed to marry her sister. But Be'ima loy, a mother of your Yevama that passed away, that you're not allowed to marry. So that's a question on Rav Huna. Rav Huna just says if a Yevama passed away, you could marry the mother. Answers the Gemara, loy. That's not a diak. Hu adin da'filu bi'ima. Really, if a Yevama passes away, so ein zika, there's no connection here. She was not your wife, and you could marry the mother. Da'filu bi'ima, even the mother you can marry. But va'aydi de tane reisha ishtoi shemesa. In that Mishnah there, it starts off talking about a wife. And that if a wife passes away, muta ba'chaisa, that you're allowed to marry a sister, ba'chaisa in aval bi'ima loy, and that's only a sister, but not a mother. So over there, the halacha is dafka a sister, and you can't marry a mother over there. So the havila is surah dairaisa over there. The mother is asam and atayre. So taninami sefer. So on the sefer it also says muta ba'chaisa. And the Sefer also uses the same lashon of muta ba'chaisa, that by the Yevama you can marry the sister. But really it's not only the sister. You can marry a mother of a Yevama as well. Okay, now the Gemara brings the other opinion here. But Rav Yehuda disagrees and says, Shemeres Yavam. Shemesa, a Shemeres Yavam. She was waiting for Yibum, but you never were meyavim her, and she passes away, asa b'ima. You're not allowed to marry her mother. Says the Gemara, Alma, what do we see? Kasava, that his opinion is, yesh, zika. Even though you never were actually miyavim, but the very fact that she was destined for yivum, and there was a connection there, so she's similar to a wife, and therefore, just like by a wife, after the wife passes away, you're not allowed to marry the mother, so too over here, yesh zika, she was destined to marry you, and that itself is a connection enough that you're not allowed to marry the mother now. So again, the Gemara asks, yesh zika. Why don't you say that the halacha is like that opinion of the Tana and the Mishnah that says beferish yesh zika, that there's a connection and therefore you can't marry the mother? And says the Gemara, if you would have said so, hava min, I would have said hana mili b'chad, that maybe this is only if there was one brother. So therefore it's clear that he's the one that's going to be destined to marry her. So therefore over here there's a zika. Aval b'trei ein zika. But maybe when it comes to two brothers, maybe over there I would say, no, there's not enough of a connection here, because who says I'm going to do the yibum? Maybe the brother will do the yibum. If you look in the Mishnah later, the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira and the Chachamim, when are they arguing about this whole halacha? B'trei pligi. They're only arguing about a case where there's two brothers. So if you would have said the halacha is that, like the Tana that says yesh zika, I would know we're talking about two, because that's what the Mishnah there is speaking about. Elo, so the Gemara answers, if you would have just said that the halacha is like the opinion that says yesh zika, havamina mechayim, I would think that when do you say yesh zika, that the connection to your Yevamos is a connection even before you were miyavim her, that's if she's still alive. Then you can't marry her mother. Avalacha misa, but after she passed away, pakala zika. Maybe I would say that then that connection you had to her is annulled, is gone. Kamash malan, the zika bichdi loy paka. Even this zika alone, even though you were never miyavim her or you never did chalitza for her, but even that zika alone does not get annulled even after she passes away. Let's just finish this thing. The Gemara brings again the same question and the same answer. Should I say I have a rayat of Yehuda's opinion? Because it says in the Mishnah, Yevim Toishameisa Mutabachaisa. A Yevama that passed away, you're allowed to marry her sister. So what do I see from this? Bachaisa, and you can marry your sister. Just like by a wife, you're allowed to marry a wife's sister after she passes away. But Be'imaloi, but not the mother. Why not? Because Yesh Zika, because there's a connection here that doesn't allow you to marry the mother. So the Gemara answers, Loi. There's no raya from here. Hu adin afila be'ima. Truth is, even the mother as well, you could marry as well. Since in the Reisha it's speaking about a wife that passes away, that you're allowed to marry a sister, but her mother, the mother of your wife, you can't marry. So that's awesome in Atayra, even after the wife passes away. So on the Sefer it also uses the term mutabach, that you can marry a sister, but really maybe it means not only dafke the sister, but you can't. What?
Not even the mother.
Not even the mother either. Yeah. So therefore, so there's no raya from here. Okay.